Hi and welcome. You're listening to Historic Huguenot Street's weekly program on WFNP The Edge, where we discuss regional New Paltz history and upcoming programs and events. I'm Kaitlin Gallucci, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications at Historic Huguenot Street, which is a nonprofit 10-acre National Historic Landmark District dedicated to preserving historic buildings, artifacts, and manuscripts, and promoting the stories of the Huguenot Street families who founded New Paltz. Now, you probably know Historic Huguenot Street as being a community of mostly colonial stone houses, but if you've taken a look at our social media lately, or if you've heard our show at the beginning of the semester, then you know that we are building a wigwam on Huguenot Street. A wigwam is a traditional dome-shaped Native American structure that likely would have been used by the indigenous people in our region for thousands of years prior to European settlement. Today, about 1,500 people, many of which now live in Wisconsin, trace their ancestry back to the Munsee people who first populated our area. And the wigwam will serve as an ongoing testament to the Munsee people and will be incorporated into our regular guided tours beginning May 6th. Right now, I'm joined by Director of Public Programming, Kara Gaffken, to talk a bit more about the Wigwam project. Hi, Kara.
Hi, Kaitlin. Thanks for having me again.
Sure. Thank
Surprised
you for
asked me back.
So this year is actually a pretty significant anniversary for New Paltz history, which makes the construction of the wigwam all the more special. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So, like you were just saying, it is the 340th anniversary of the signing of the 1677 land deed between the Huguenot settlers of New Paltz and the Munsee Esopus Native Americans, who, again, like you said, inhabited this land for thousands of years prior to European contact. So that was the real inspiration and thought process behind why construct a Native American wigwam on this site. As of last year...
I'm sure people are wondering, why now?
Right, exactly.
And this is why. Yeah.
Exactly. So as of last year, we made a major push to add further interpretation of the Native American history in our regular tour. And in 2016, we were actually doing so mostly within our historic colonial stone homes, which is an odd setting to be talking about the Native Americans because the stone homes in New Paltz didn't exist when the Native Americans were settled in this region.
Right, they wouldn't have coexisted at all.
Exactly, not in New Paltz at least.
Right.
So that again was a further inspiration for saying, you know, we really need a space to interpret the Native American history and talk about the land agreement and this really fantastic document that we have in our historic archives. The document itself is, I believe, 4 pages. It's written in Dutch, and it's literally dated May 1677, which will be 340 years to the month of when we opened this new dwelling to the public. So we're very excited about that.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a bit about Barry Keegan, who's building the wigwam?
Sure. I've gotten to know Barry very well in the past couple of months. He is a fantastic guy, completely dedicated to authentically building these Native American dwellings. He has built over 60 in his lifetime.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and was actually one of the original builders of the original longhouse up at the Mohonk Preserve. So
nice.
I think when most people in the area think about a Native American dwelling, their memory or thought process immediately goes to that longhouse. I know that, you know, someone who grew up here myself, I took a field trip in elementary school to the...
I remember seeing the longhouse too,
Exactly, to the Mohonk longhouse. And so many other children have done that. And now they won't only get to go to Mohonk, but they should be able to come to Huguenot
Not everyone lived in a longhouse.
Exactly. Some people lived in a somewhat smaller structure called a wigwam. So that's what Barry specializes in, are these wigwam structures. He's also considered a Native American crafts expert. So he can reproduce Native American tools and other cultural objects. For one of our events coming up, he'll be doing a canoe hollowing demonstration, which is going to be really neat and interesting. He does, fire making demonstrations, tool making demonstrations, and all of that really cool sort of hands-on sensory experiences that we all love in the museum field. But Barry's really become a well-known figure in his field. In fact, this always sort of gets my fangirl going. He actually produced some dugout canoes, which were used in the film Jamestown.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yep. So
go figure.
Yep.
Now I'm going to fangirl next time I see him.
Yeah, exactly.
Not like I already wasn't.
Right, I know. He's cool enough already.
Exactly. Like, we were watching him yesterday, which was the day he started. And just how, like, you're watching him, he's one person bending these, long sticks. Yeah. You're like, how are they not breaking? Like, they just curve.
Actual cedar sapling trees that he cut down to create the framing of the dome of the wigwam. So those are like, 3 to 4 inch diameter cedar trees that he's bending over. I know, it makes it all the more impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes it look like he has superhuman strength, to be honest. He's just like tying trees together. He
has that too. So he's a Native American crafts expert and has superhuman strength. It's on his resume, actually.
Oh, that's why we chose him.
Yeah,
that and Jamestown.
It's on his LinkedIn.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. I know we were just in awe watching him start yesterday. So once the wigwam is complete, how will it change? How will it become a part of the guided tours here?
Great question. So instead of telling that Native American story in our colonial stone houses, we will have that wigwam setting. So that's the very first place our visitors will actually go when they come for a tour on Huguenot Street. They'll get a brief introduction on the fort porch, the Du Bois Fort, our visitor center. And so they have like a sort of foundation for the tour. But then, we're going to say Huguenots weren't the first people here. So let's first talk about the earliest settlers of this land. And we're going to go right into the wigwam. A part of the really awesome, new, exciting wigwam experience, on occasion, if you come for a specific tour time, you'll also get the added bonus of experiencing a real live fire burning in the structure.
Oh, wow.
So this is both a sensory experience for our visitors, a little bit more of that living history aspect that we like to bring into our site, but it's also part of our preservation of the structure itself. So having a fire burn in the wigwam on a regular basis is incredibly, incredibly important in order to keep the structure dry. I mean, the structure itself is made, like I said, of cedar sapling trees. It is made of thatched grass called, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, but it's like phragmites. Barry would do a much better job of probably pronouncing it. And also peeled bark from trees. If you can imagine, especially on a day like today, having the rain pouring down on the structure and then
so moist.
Yes, exactly. It's going to create this moisture, and it can actually cause the structure to produce mold and mildew over time, and that is what would deteriorate it. So based on Barry's suggestions and thank you very much to the approval of the Village of New Paltz and the New Paltz Fire Department, we will be burning a very, very small fire in the wigwam, probably on a weekly basis, to make sure that the structure stays dry and therefore will be preserved for a longer period of time.
Nice.
Hopefully, in fact, it will stand for 10 years.
That's amazing.
It is, and if it's still standing in 10 years, we can do a 350th
Oh my gosh, you're
anniversary
right.
of the signing of the land deed in the wigwam.
Oh my gosh, that would be awesome.
It'll be an anniversary celebration for 10 years standing and 350 years since the signing.
Perfect.
So that would be very exciting. But other than the regular tours, we'll also be incorporating the structure in our school programming. Barry will be...
Oh, that'll be nice.
It will be. It's going to be a whole nother level of the sort of history we teach to the children. Barry will be providing us with some of those reproduction tools and things like that he makes. So these will be additional hands-on opportunities for our visitors, especially our school children.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be exciting for them because when we give them historic house tours, there are certain things they can touch and there are certain things they cannot touch.
Right.
In this structure, it's going to be very open to them. You know, you can pick up whatever you would like, kind of like the hands-on history room in our visitor center.
Sure.
It's all reproduction, so it's going to be a very hands-on space, which is very exciting.
Yeah, definitely. No, that sounds wonderful. Great. So right now we're going to take a quick break. This is WFNP The Edge. Hi, and welcome back. You're listening to Historic Huguenot Street's weekly program on WFNP The Edge. I'm Kaitlin Gallucci, and I'm speaking to Historic Huguenot Street's Director of Public Programming, Gaffken, about the Muncie Esopus Wigwam being built on Huguenot Street. As we mentioned before the break, the wigwam will become a part of Huguenot Street's daily guided tours beginning on opening day, May 6th. The construction is already visible to the public and will be visible throughout the month of April as it's being constructed. On April 29th, actually, we are hosting a spring celebration in honor of the Muncie, during which guests will have the opportunity to get a first look at the wigwam. And the builder, who we also spoke about before the break, Barry Keegan, will also be there. And he has some things planned, right, Kara?
Yes. So he, like you said, will be in attendance. And for one, he will be able to answer anyone's questions who's in attendance.
That's great.
So these folks will literally be the people who attend the spring celebration will be the first individuals from the public who can actually enter the wigwam. So this is even before our tour season starts on May 6th. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like a little private sneak peek into the structure before it truly opens up to the public. So Barry will be present to talk to our visitors about what the construction process was like, why did he choose these materials, you know, how is the framing kept together, where did the bark come from. Something that's really interesting is all of the materials were harvested from New York State. Barry himself is from the Cooperstown area, so he did harvest some grasses upstate. But otherwise, a lot of it was cut right from the banks of the Wallkill River here on Huguenot Street. And
I saw him the other day walk. He just kind of like, I think he needed like a stone to like help like fill in a hole or something. And he literally just starts like walking into the woods. And then like he reappeared and like had a stone.
Yes, that sounds like Barry. Yep. Even the cedar poles used in the framing were cut right on Ohioville Road, I think he said.
Wow, yeah.
So he's perfectly comfortable driving around town the past few weeks and saying, that field of grass looks like it would work, going up to people's front doors, knocking on them and basically saying, would you mind if I cut your grass and use it for the Huguenot Street wigwam? And people have been really, accepting of the concept and things like that. So really truly a community project in many ways, shapes, and forms. But he'll be there to answer your questions and talk about the wigwam. He will also be doing the canoe hollowing demonstration, which I mentioned earlier. That's going to be really exciting.
Oh, yeah.
And he'll have all of those reproduction tools that he can show people, talk about how they're made, talk about what they are used for. A lot of people really don't know a whole lot about Native American history and culture unless you're a scholar in the field, a historian, an author. I know just by example, before I started looking into how we could celebrate the 340th anniversary of the land deed, I really didn't know. Gosh, I knew next to nothing about the people who really truly settled here before the Europeans.
Right.
And I'm saying that openly, and I'm the person who was talking about it on the tours. So it's,
Good
I
point.
mean, even someone who on a daily basis was saying, the Munsee people, the Esopus people, they did this, they lived like that. The more I'm sort of digging into the research, talking to Barry, and even talking to the Munsee people today, I am learning so much more about their history and culture. And that's only gonna snowball with this anniversary and all the amazing things that we're doing with our historic interpretation and research around the land deed.
Yeah, definitely. There'll actually be a guest at the spring celebration from the Stockbridge Munsee community, right?
That is right. Her name is Bonnie Hartley. She is the Tribal Preservation Officer for the Stockbridge Munsee community. The Stockbridge Munsee currently reside out on a reservation in Wisconsin. And these are the people, most importantly, that are still living and breathing today. You know, the Native Americans didn't just up and disappear.
Right.
The culture and their history still lives on. But these are the individuals who trace their roots and their lineage back to the Hudson River Valley and the area that would later become known as New Paltz. So it's these individuals who it's likely their ancestors who were signing the deed with the Huguenot settlers. And so we're gonna have Bonnie present to speak at our spring celebration, help us metaphorically cut the ribbon of the wigwam,
Right.
and throughout the year and beyond 2017 really help us continue to develop our knowledge of the Munsee people and the Esopus tribe.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, because if you think about it, we engage so much with Huguenot descendants, but not so much with the, people who trace their ancestry back to the indigenous folks from this area. So
Correct.
That's really cool.
There are, of course, no excuses. I think that what we're doing, today is absolutely fantastic. But I will say it's much easier to engage with the Huguenot descendants. We have been engaging with them for hundreds of years.
Right.
And they're still incredibly engaged. They're around every corner in New Paltz,
Right.
and in fact all around the globe.
Yeah.
It took a little bit of effort to really figure out where are the descendants of the signers, the Native American signers of the deed. Eric Roth, our former executive director, had a lot to do with that research. And he had actually had representatives from that same community out here a few years back, and they actually participated in one of the last Stone House Day events that we had on Huguenot Street. So we had a relationship with them in the past, but that relationship is only growing stronger with this anniversary, and we're really excited to have them on board. And I think also a major sort of goal of this year's interpretation and programming is in fact to say, hey, these people didn't disappear. They're still living and breathing today,
Right.
and their culture is very much alive.
Yeah. No, that's great. So, well, for those interested in attending the spring celebration, which we've been talking about, you can register now at huguenotstreet.org/spring celebration. There will also be an exhibit of Native American artifacts in the Du Bois Fort, which we'll talk a bit more about next week. And also during that event, we will have the original 1677 land agreement on display. Can you tell us a little bit more about that document, Kara? I think this is going to be really cool to see.
It is, and as far as we can tell, certainly in the last 3 years that I've been working at Historic Huguenot Street, the deed has never really been exhibited to the public before. In its true form. You can see it online. You can go
Definitely.
to HudsonRiverValleyHeritage.com, HRVH.com, and see it. There's a transcription there and a translation. The document is in Dutch, so it's translated right there for you. But this is going to be at least the first time since I've been here at Huguenot Street, and probably I can't imagine when else they would bring it out. It's a very delicate, very old document.
Course, yeah.
Probably one of the only times it would ever be physically on exhibit in our visitor center. So it is incredibly exciting. You will get to see the actual signatures of the very, very familiar names and founders of Huguenot Street, Louis Bevere and Du Bois and the Hasbrooks, the Lefevers, you know them all. And what's even, I don't want to say even more exciting, because we're all very excited about the Huguenots.
Totally.
We wouldn't work at Historic Huguenot Street if we weren't excited about them. But what is equally as exciting is you will also get to see the marks made by the Native American sachems who signed the deed. So a sachem would have been an individual who had some sort of political power within the tribe. And we do believe that at least two of these individual sachems were actually women. So that's interesting to sort of compare, contrast the two groups of individuals who were the signers. You have the Huguenot men, pretty much. And then you have the Native American sachems, and those did include women. So that's very exciting, especially in a year that we're talking about women's rights and empowerment, because it's the totally different topic, but centennial of...
No, but exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Women's right to vote in New York State. But it's interesting. You'll get to see those marks. And we're talking, they're looking like X's and just different shapes and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
But you'll even get to see that the author of the deed tried to spell out the Native Americans' names right next to them. So it's funny, I've spoken to Bonnie a little bit about the names and the pronunciations, and said, is there any way we could possibly try to figure out how to pronounce these names? And she actually just got back to me today and said, I spoke to someone else about that. There's really no way we can even attempt to pronounce it, because what you're looking at is sort of the Dutch version of the Native American name. So it's all sort of,
like totally
mixed,
lost in translation.
Exactly. Completely lost in translation. But it's such a meaningful document. Every time I look at it, I can just envision these, two different cultures meeting together and each putting their pen to paper, literally, and making these marks. So just as excited as I probably sound about it, I think everyone who attends this event will get to feel that excitement when they see this document.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to see it, and just to know that I've seen it, because it's not something that, like you said, it's not something that's going to be available to the public every day.
Right.
We're employees. It's not something that's available to us every day.
No.
This is a 340-year-old document, and it's, that's not it's the type of thing that, due to how it needs to be preserved, it's not something that people get to see often. So it's definitely really exciting opportunity.
It is.
Yeah.
So come check it out.
Yeah, definitely. Great. So, Kara, thanks so much for joining me.
Sure, happy to do so.
Again, the wigwam is currently under construction as of yesterday. You can see it in progress in person on Huguenot Street, but you can also follow Historic Huguenot Street on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to follow its progress. We're wrapping up now, but listeners can tune in every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. for the rest of the semester at WFNP.org or 88.7 FM to hear more from Historic Huguenot Street. Visit huguenotstreet.org for information on all of our upcoming events, including the spring celebration we were just discussing. You can also follow us on social media and sign up for our email list to stay informed on what's happening on the street. And if you ever want to catch up on any of our past radio shows, most of them are available on our YouTube channel. Thanks for listening.